Hello everyone and welcome to my Polish cuisine again. Today I am baking very popular Polish Szarlotka, which is an apple cake. And this one is gonna be without the use of butter, so it's a little bit healthier than using butter, and I'm gonna bypass this with an oil. This type of a cake is very popular in Poland, and it's relatively easy to make, and it doesn't require a whole lot of work. So I will place the ingredient list underneath this video, and let me begin. So the ingredients for the dough are 400 grams of all-purpose flour, 110 grams of granulated white sugar, 2 tablespoons of sour cream, 2 egg yolks, 170 grams of oil, a pinch of salt, and about a 1.5 teaspoon of the baking powder. As far as the apples, I have here 100.5 kilograms. I'm going to peel them. I'm going to remove the cores. And I have some cinnamon for the apples and some sugar. And as I've mentioned, the lemon so that the apples don't get dark. And you don't have to use any sugar for the apples. I have 2 types of apples, so those are Honey Crisps and Granny Smith apples. So I start out by sifting the flour. There is the sifted flour. Now I'm going to place my ingredients here and then mix it all. So in goes my sugar. In goes the sour cream. And the egg yolks. Now in go a pinch of salt, and 1.5 teaspoon of the baking powder. And now I'm gonna mix this in a little bit. I still have to add the oil. It's just easier to mix a few ingredients at a time, and then I'm gonna have to mix it by hand. So now in goes the oil. So once all your ingredients are combined, and then you're gonna use either your hand or some mixer with the hook so this dough can be well incorporated and all the ingredients well incorporated. But this is only a little dough, so you can just wash your hands like I did and mix this with your hand. And this doesn't require much mixing at this point. This type of dough should be a little bit crumbly. And that's exactly how it is. So once your dough is done, what I do is I cut it into like 3/4, leave 1/4 for the top, and I'm going to spread this over my pan. Now divide your dough into not half, but 3/4. And what I do is I usually use a spoon. Here I have a pan lined with parchment paper, and this is 9 inches by 9 inches and about 3 inches in depth. And then I just spread this dough on the bottom, and it should be crumbly. No need to worry about it. I like to use my spoon because it kind of leaves it smoother than if you were to do this just by hand. And this fits perfectly into this type of a pan. If you have a longer one, maybe narrower one, that'll work as well. I just want to make sure that it's even all around in all the spots, corners. And this dough does not have to be refrigerated. There's no butter in here. It's just oil. And it's also way healthier for you because use of butter is saturated fat, where it can clog up your arteries quicker than the oil. Oil is still relatively unhealthy, but it takes place of the butter for sure. So therefore, I'm going to save this one for the top. So now let me peel the apples. I always like to peel my apples when I divide them first into halves and then quarters. Sure to cut out the core. And the apples are now peeled. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to shred them. The quickest way for me to shred these is by using the food processor and one of these blades on the large mash, and just stick your apples in there. My apples are now finished. It only took a few minutes. And now I'm going to transfer these apples to a bowl. just a note, if your apples are really watery, you can usually tell on the bottom that you need to squeeze these out. These don't contain a whole lot of water, so I'm not going to do that. Also, what you could do is put a little bit of breadcrumbs on the bottom of the dough so that the breadcrumbs can absorb all that water. But these are good to go, and they don't have a whole lot of water. So what I'm gonna do is put some lemon juice on them. So the next thing I do is I squeeze out my lemon, and I will put it in so they don't become too dark. So I pour the lemon juice over my apples, and I give it a good stir. And now I mix in the sugar. If your apples are very sweet, then don't use it. You can avoid that sugar. Being that these are Granny Smith apples, they have a lot of sourness in them. And just, you can try it, see if it's still sour. Mine are okay. I'm not going to use all that sugar. They're pretty sweet because I mixed the two different types of apples. The next thing I do is I place a little bit of the cinnamon on the bottom of the dough. If you don't like it, you can just skip it. And now I'm going to place the apples on the top. The nice thing about it is we don't have to saute the apples. Just place them as they are. Make sure to spread those evenly. In the meantime, preheat your oven to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 180 Celsius. Now with the previous dough that I saved, remember I said I was gonna make a little crumble of it on the top. And this is perfect just to go over the top. now I will place this apple cake in a preheated oven of 350 degrees Fahrenheit or about 180 degrees Celsius for at least 30 minutes. You have to make sure that this gets browned, and when it gets golden browned, it's usually indication that it's done. And my oven has been preheated to 350 degrees, that's Fahrenheit, and it's on the inside. As you can tell, there's nothing leaking from around it. So we'll leave it in for about 30 minutes. And now it's been about 40 minutes in the oven. So this is done. I'm going to remove it. Now the edges are nicely browned, golden browned. It looks really good, but I'm going to let it rest a little bit, cool off, and then I'll cut into it. And now it's been half an hour since the apple cake has been cooling, so I'm going to cut around here and remove it, see how it came out. So let me cut a piece. Here is the cake. So if you like this recipe, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.